what's happening, YouTubers? Welcome to Action Figure Evolution, an homage and tribute to the late, great Glenn Webb. Today we're going to be highlighting the Marvel Legends MCU Captain America Steve Rogers. But before we go further, I just want to give time to appreciate the late, great Glenn Webb, who in my opinion was one of the best action figure reviewers ever. When I first got back into collecting during the early 2010s, I didn't realize there was content and community that existed on YouTube for action figures and action figure reviewing. There were a handful of OGs that had content and continue till this day. But out of all of them, Glenn Webb's content stuck out the most. In addition to his informative and creative reviews, he also had original themed content such as Toy Rewind, which was old school action figure reviews, Confessions of an eBay Holic, customizing videos, and a handful of other categories. But out of all the original content Glenn Webb produced, my favorite was easily Action Figure Evolution. With that being said, I randomly noticed something when I was rearranging my collection. I've got a ton of MCU Captain America figures. I started looking at them and saw the great progress Hasbro's made over the years, which got me thinking, why not do my own Action Figure Evolution inspired video? Now, there's been others that have essentially done this before. Most recently, Shartimusprime did an excellent Action Figure Evolution Glenn Webb inspired video for Wolverine, and Boog Nice also did his rendition with the Hulkarama video showcasing the Hulk's progress throughout the years. Enough about all that, let's travel back to 2011 and take a look at the first Captain America movie figure in the 6-inch scale. Now, at first glance, this looks exactly like the Captain America the First Avenger movie series figure, which came out in 2011, and essentially what Hasbro had in the 6-inch line before the return of Marvel Legends. Now, this pretty much is the same figure, but there's one subtle difference: the eyes. This is actually the World War II Captain America figure from the Mandroid Build-A-Figure wave that came out in 2014 for Captain America the Winter Soldier movie. It is exactly the same sculpt and paint application. It was just a re-release. Now, when taking a look at it, for its time, there were some solid parts about this figure. For one, it has that diaphragm joint instead of ab crunch. The paint application could be better, but for a figure in 2011 standards, this was pretty damn good. The weak point for this figure, I would say, is the hip joints. While they're not exactly ball joints per se, it is similar engineering, but it also is a little tricky. Overall, it's a great start for the MCU Captain America figures from Hasbro. Next, we're going to travel to 2012, the Avengers 1 Captain America movie series figure. But before we move on, yes, this is actually the 2019 Marvel Legends Captain America from the Bro Thor Build-A-Figure wave. But it is using the same body mold from the 2012 Hasbro movie series figure, which was a Walmart exclusive. So engineering-wise, it's virtually the same, and shows it's dated by those ball joints.
No, Mother, don't look out the window!
However, where Hasbro did improve is the paint deco and slight modifications to the suit. If you look in closely, you can see the textured pattern on the suit, specifically his chest and the head sculpt. Hasbro utilized their photoreal tech to improve the likeness to what we saw in the movie. In terms of the original release, for its time, I think Hasbro took a very slight step forward with articulation compared to the World War II Captain America, because it did have minor articulation improvement. For example, ankle pivot, and the ball jointed hips moved a little bit forward than the other one did. I remember YouTubers and collectors complaining in 2019 when Hasbro announced this figure at San Diego Comic-Con. But for what it's worth, I'm glad they re-released this figure because it gave collectors another chance at owning Avengers 1 Cap, despite how silly that outfit looked.
Mr. Rogers, I almost forgot that suit did nothing for your ass.
No one asked you to look, Tony.
It's ridiculous.
Now we're going to jump ahead to 2018 and take a look at the Marvel Legends Captain America from the first 10 years 2-pack with Crossbones based off their appearance in Civil War. Now I jumped ahead a couple of Captain America figures to get to this one because of one main reason. The Captain America figures that came in between Avengers 1 and Civil War were all sharing the same buck/body mold as this one. The body mold was first introduced in 2014's Marvel Legends Stealth Suit Captain America from the Mandroid Build-A-Figure wave. Since then, Hasbro has reused it again for 2015's Age of Ultron Cap figure, and then again twice in 2016 for the Civil War movie, one in the Giant Man Build-A-Figure wave and the other in the 3-pack with Iron Man and Spider-Man. For its original release in 2014, we saw Hasbro improve articulation from the previous 2 Captain America movie series figures. Hasbro went from the diaphragm joint, which I prefer personally, to an ab crunch. While aesthetically I like the diaphragm more, the ab crunch gave more movement for Cap so you can get him in more dynamic poses. Also a glaring difference, no ball jointed hips. They even added a cut at the boot for more articulation. When taking a deeper look at the 2018 Civil War Cap from the first 10 years line, I tend to think of this as the final finished version of this body mold, mainly because it was the last time Hasbro used this. And I'm kind of glad, because for its time when it was first introduced, it was a great figure, but when comparing it to other MCU figures, it kind of seemed like Cap was on the scrawnier side, and the suit looked a little too slim when compared to how his suit actually looked in the movies. Where they also improved this last version of Cap on this buck was the unmasked Steve Rogers head sculpt. It was one of the first figures utilizing the photoreal tech, and the likeness to Chris Evans was spot on. But prior to this, the unmasked MCU Steve Rogers head sculpt we had gotten looked absolutely nothing like Chris Evans. If anything, it just looked like a comic book version of Steve Rogers. This figure was definitely a good way for Hasbro to piece out from using this body mold, as this was their best use of it in my opinion. The clean paint application and the attention to detail added in the fact that head sculpt significantly improved with their technology. It was a nice send-off for this buck. We're going to stay in 2018 and take a look at the Infinity War Captain America from the Thanos Build-A-Figure wave, aka Concept Art Captain America. Because for starters, that's all this figure is based off of. And it's not Hasbro's fault either, because Marvel Studios is incredibly tight-knit about what gets released or leaked out before the movie comes out. If you need further proof, see the recently released figures based off the MCU. We have the Rintrah Baff, the black and gold suit Spider-Man, Red Guardian, and a few others. But when it comes to this figure, it definitely has some improvements to the prior used body mold. For example, Hasbro made his arms slightly bigger so it didn't give that slim/slender look than the previous arms had. You can definitely see the color of his suit is more muted and faded to the prior one, and that's in large part because that's what was portrayed in the movie. He's been on the run. It has nice attention to detail like the missing Avengers logo on the shoulder pads, the removal of the star, and you can see a little bit of the scales under his suit. Where this figure suffers though is the inaccuracy to the movie. Again, not Hasbro's fault, but when you see the figure missing a gloved hand and the Wakandan shield that came with it, which I don't have. What? The shield was also inaccurate and only came with one of them. The most obvious inaccuracy is the head sculpt. Even if this wasn't based off concept art, it still doesn't have Chris Evans' likeness in my opinion. This head sculpt actually looks more like the Marvel Legends Senior Product Design Manager Dwight Stahl. Though it does have its flaws for being inaccurate, it was still a solid improvement from the prior Captain America body mold that was being used. Now we're going to go into the quantum realm and into 2019 where yet again we have another concept art Captain America. We're taking a look at the quantum suit Cap from the Thanos Build-A-Figure wave based on his appearance
allegedly
in Endgame. Yet another figure that suffered from concept art but also just didn't have a good look in my opinion. Unlike Infinity War Cap, this was a far cry from what the suit actually looked like in the movie. And also, there wasn't even a moment in the movie where he wore that helmet mask with this suit. It honestly would have been a lot better if Hasbro just threw an unmasked Steve Rogers head in there from the first 10 years to go with it. In terms of articulation, it's pretty much on par with what we'd expect from Marvel Legends at this point. The only cool thing that came from this figure was seeing the work customizers would put in and making it more screen accurate. For example, Marvellegends.nl did a fantastic job at it. And it stayed in 2019 for a little bit, as just a few months later after the release of the Quantum Suit Cap figure, the Marvel Legends Worthy Cap Walmart exclusive was released. This figure ended up living up to its name, Worthy Cap. We finally got to see the scale suit Cap on the big screen in Endgame. The suit was similar to his comic counterpart, a nice homage, so to finally see it in figure form was poetic. The texturing of the scales of his suit was beautifully sculpted, added to the fact that the body mold in general looked much more buff to the previously released MCU Captain America figures. While they still kept the same articulation as the previous figures, we did get Mjolnir and a damaged shield. The one flaw for this figure was the additional head sculpt. While you can see a little bit of Chris Evans' likeness, I think it was a slight step back compared to the Civil War version. Also, this Steve Rogers' face looked like he was sick. Apart from that, this figure was one of Hasbro's best Captain America figures in my opinion, and it was highly sought after and going for mad bread in the aftermarket until recently. I'll get to that a little later. Staying stuck in 2019, but a few months later we have the Captain America figure from the 2-pack with Peggy Carter, based on their appearance from Captain America the First Avenger. This was a nice way for Hasbro to dip back into previous movies by giving us a Peggy Carter figure, but also giving us a Steve Rogers figure that scales with current Marvel Legends, seeing as the OG movie series version was just a little short compared to Legends. Also, they did a great job giving us multiple accessories with his 2-pack that showcased Steve Rogers in what was essentially his first outfit when he went into battle rescuing the troops from Hydra. Also, a nice touch including the shield he used on stage and the unpainted vibranium shield that Howard Stark made. The head sculpts in this set was awesome, and quite frankly some of Hasbro's best when it comes to likeness of the actor Chris Evans. The skin complexion might be a little off, but I get what they were going for. This was a great body mold from Hasbro, and I've seen it in the community used as fodder and kit bash in different characters, so even if you didn't need a First Avenger Cap, you could use this buck for other characters as well. Alright, now we can move on to fall of 2021 with a zombie Captain America from the Watcher Build-A-Figure wave from the Disney Plus series What If. And if you're asking me why I included this, it's simple. What If is MCU.
Boom, you looking for this?
This figure is all kinds of levels of insane detailing. For one, it's pinless, and two, if you look at the detailing on the scars, the wounds, and whatever, this figure is all sorts of fun factor when it comes to toy photography and shelf presence. I'm pretty sure this is the first zombie figure from Hasbro's Marvel Legends series. I might be wrong, and if I am, let me know in the comments below. Right around the same time in the fall of 2021, we got the Infinity War Captain America from the Infinity Saga line. So now we have our more screen-accurate Captain America from Infinity War. There's a lot of things Hasbro got right in this figure than the previous one. For starters, the suit, the Wakandan shields, and the head sculpt were huge improvements in my opinion. I mean, we finally got 2 Wakandan shields.
He got two! He got two!
Now when it comes to the head sculpt, I'll admit I first laughed at it. I even dogged on it when it was first announced, but after having the figure in hand and reviewing it, sorry, shameless plug, you can also see the likeness of Chris Evans on the neutral head sculpt. The other face, like the angry one, not so much. But the way they sculpted the hair and beard was a huge plus for this figure. Another thing they got right, the arms. As I mentioned previously, in Cap suits in the movies have always been typically bulky and has some sort of buffness to it. This one did, and it had pinless joints. Not in the legs, though. For all the positives about this figure, the one or two things that I can add a little bit of criticism to is the overall color of blue they chose to use. While yes, Cap's suit is blue, I think this shade of blue might have been a little bit too bright in my opinion when compared to the concept art version that came out in 2018. And because in the movie you can clearly see Cap's suit is a little bit darker than what we see on this figure. Another thing is scaling. While it is a great figure, when compared to other Caps, he appears to be a little bit taller than them. Apart from that, this is my favorite Captain America figure from Hasbro for the simple fact that Infinity War is my favorite movie from the MCU and arguably their best movie. And this version of Cap was ultimately my favorite. Oh, y'all thought we were done? Well, we almost are. But we're going to jump to this year in 2022. We saw the release of this Captain America 2-pack set of Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers. This was released earlier in the year and I did a review. Again, another shameless plug.
Son of a bitch! You got me kidding me.
No, Heath Slater, I'm not kidding. I'm sorry. But anyways, I'll be honest, I did not like the repaint of this figure. I think it was a little bright in my opinion. While yes, if you look at the suit in Endgame, it was bright on some parts of the suit, but it was more of a metallic finish, especially on the scales of his suit. But to me, I prefer the darker blue used in the Worthy Cap version and then the later reissued UK exclusive version. Remember how I said Worthy Cap was going for mad bread on the aftermarket? Well, not so much now with this 2-pack re-release. In that respect, I'm happy newer collectors are able to pick up an Endgame Cap that doesn't cost them 5 times the retail price like Worthy Cap did. In fact, I think this 2-pack is on sale on some sites. There is an improvement from this figure though, and that's the unmasked Steve Rogers head sculpt. While it's essentially the same sculpt that came with Worthy Cap, it got a way better paint deco, and he doesn't look sick. Overall, it's a solid re-release, but it's one of those cases that I prefer the original release over the repainted version. Now, you might have noticed I kind of gloss over the shields, but that's because it's kind of been the same pattern throughout the years with MCU Cap's shield. Hasbro did improve the paint deco and finish on his shield throughout the years, and even added the gritty ones to the Worthy Cap and the blood on the zombie Captain America. In conclusion, it's amazing to see the progress Hasbro's made in the past decade with Marvel Legends, most notably the MCU Captain America. Yeah, scaling still tends to be an issue in some cases, but at least engineering-wise, it's improved significantly. You know what else has improved significantly since the OG Captain America movie figure came out? The toy community. Some OGs I mentioned earlier in this video that I watched back in the day along with Glenn Webb's videos are still going strong today, like Shartimusprime. He's one of the biggest action figure reviewers out there and still going strong today. Bug Nice has put ACBA in the forefront and really highlighting the community's work. Just last year, it hit over 1 million hashtags on Instagram. That's huge. Unparalleled Universe changed the game with the Tuesday crew and the Friday Night Lives. The Amazing elevated the posing game and signature Mezco shots. Just J Hernandez brought back the walk. In addition to that, he also put the balancing act and hand John in the limelight. He even does the Glenn Webb pose in his reviews. So shout outs to you, Jay. There's tons of others out there, but that's just naming a few. It's nice to see the community as a whole grew significantly over the years and its own way had its own evolution. And that's something I feel like the late, great Glenn Webb would appreciate.